Hey guys, it's Lee here from Anderton's. Some of you may know me as the Captain. If you've just stumbled across this video, I do tons and tons of videos with a guy called Rob Chapman demonstrating gear for Anderton's Music Company. And to be honest with you, I don't really consider myself anything special on the guitar. I've been playing since I was in my teens, really just mucking around in a guitar store all my life, so learned a few licks and stuff like that, but never been formally taught, never really sort of properly understood what I'm doing, and would never have dreamed that I'd be trying to do some sort of basic kind of guitar bluesy sort of lesson here. But lots of people have asked me to do this on Facebook, so here goes, I guess. I'm going to try and keep this down to a sort of a relatively short video length. If it goes really well and you really like it, maybe I'll do another one. So let's get started. I am, as I said, not a trained kind of theory guy, so if you're looking for a lesson that's steeped and embedded in theory and stuff like that, go and find something else. This one is just going to be about kind of showing you how I kind of use my basic understanding of the sort of the licks that I use to get the sounds that I use. So I'm a real tone guy. So I like good tones. I need good tone to kind of be really inspired. I own a lot of guitars. Lucky guy, really. But this particular one here is a nice all-rounder, not too expensive either. So I thought I'd use this for the video. I'm plugged into a Victory amp, which sounds cool, nice and clean, sort of sounding, and then I've got a little drive pedal on the floor that I might use. So anyway, let's get on. You'll all probably be familiar with that kind of chord progression. That's a typical kind of thing that I would use a lot if I was playing in A. People will probably be familiar with that chord as being known as like a Jimi Hendrix chord. So that's the same as that chord, but without your little finger, and you're really just kind of playing it with the little finger when you're playing the root chord, the A chord, and then without for the D and the E. And so what that means is I'm going to be playing all of my bluesy licks in an A kind of format, so using minor and major kind of scales within that. So the first thing that you guys kind of really need to be fairly familiar with if you want to copy some of the stuff that I do are your basic sort of pentatonic shapes. So now, you guys, if you're fairly experienced, you know that you can kind of play that shape, you can play that scale, sorry, in 5 different positions on the guitar. And I wouldn't, I don't religiously learn all those positions. I mean, there are two that I probably use more than any, which is the one I just showed you. So it's worth learning that chord. And then there's another one a little further up. Oops. And then there are some in between. I'm not going to go into them all now, otherwise it's going to become a boring kind of video. You can look them up online. But what you'll see when I'm playing is I tend to slide between the various positions. So instead of playing, I would take a little bit of the scale from the position below, and I would link the two together. So I'm going. You see what I did there? So these are the sort of 3 or 4 notes from the, and I've slid into the next sort of section. Same up here. Now I'm going to do that all over the fretboard into the different positions. So again, instead of going, I'm going to go. And I love all those little slides, so sliding up, sliding down, it all sounds good. So these aren't bends, these are sort of slides, if you... Must admit, I hadn't really even realised quite how much I don't really think about this, and I think that's half the half the kind of trick really with this kind of guitar playing is to be so comfortable with so familiar with some of the licks that you're not really thinking about it. So, you know, and there's lots of nice stuff that you can play, you know, once you're sort of familiar with that sort of basic sort of set of patterns, you'll find all sorts of ways that you can move between the scales. So now, before I go on to sort of more scales and perhaps places where I play, I would say for someone like me, as a relatively sort of basic kind of player, feel and tone and dynamics are probably the most important part of my playing. So nothing that I play is particularly fast or frilly or anything like that, but I like to have good tone and I like to be expressive with my playing. So, you know, I find it quite boring to listen to playing where perhaps you know it's all one speed or one dynamic, or there's not nice vibrato on it. You know, I like that sort of. It reminds me of a classic quote from Yngwie Malmsteen, because I'm a real kind of, you know, less is more sort of player, and Yngwie Malmsteen just said something along the lines of, less is more. How is less more? It's not possible. Surely more is more. So that's fair enough, Yngwie, but I'm not going to do more is more. I'm going to do less is more. So let's just play around. So in fact, I might even use a looper just to put down a real basic kind of blues progression, and then you'll kind of see what I'm doing. So I might just fast forward this bit along so that you just get it a bit quicker. So there you go. So we've got a loop going round now that I can just sort of play over. So what I want to try and do is, instead of just sort of going, I want to try and bring in some dynamics. So I'm going to try and play again simple licks, but with nice vibrato. And again, I like a kind of a vibrato that's like a human voice. So I usually let the note stay static, or, you know, non-vibrated if you like, just for a split second before I would go into a vibrato. And again, it's worth practicing that vibrato. I don't ever really remember at what point I started doing it, but I've done it for a long time. And it's a gentle, nice, vocal sounding thing, you know. And you're either really bending probably with your first finger or with your third finger, and you can vibrato on a bend as well. Different people have different vibrato techniques, different speeds. I would guess mine is a pretty medium sort of speed, I suppose. But it's a little harder when you're bending a note to do the vibrato, because you almost start sort of shaking the guitar if you like to try and do it. But that's okay. That's okay. Whatever works for you. I also like to do these kind of little micro bends on notes, and this was a real subconscious thing. I didn't even really realise I was doing it until I watched a video well, not even recently, but a video where John Mayer was explaining what he did, and he was kind of saying, like, you know, a lot of the where he's playing licks, he's doing this sort of, and you notice the end of the lick there. I'm not. It's a little bit of a bend, but it's almost a sort of a subliminal. realised to myself, God, I'm doing that all the time. But it does add an interesting extra sort of little flavour to this. So why don't you, you know, give that a go with your vibrato. So perhaps, again, instead of just playing, why don't you play... So you'll notice again, everything I'm doing is within this one shape that I'm really comfortable with. So we're playing in that sort of A chord. Playing all those kind of minor pentatonic sort of notes. You throw in little sort of odd notes, if you like. I think they're called passing notes, but you know, kind of sound a bit weird sometimes in isolation, and other times they sound really cool. So that's another one where you just really got to try and hear it sort of. So it's all around that same pattern. What else can we sort of try and impart upon you? I must admit, as I say, I've never really done a lesson before. I certainly would recommend that you guys go look at other guys who perhaps a bit more experienced than I am in sort of teaching. But you know, as I said, if you like the stuff that I play, hopefully some of this will sort of explain it a little bit more. What else? I know what else I was going to sort of try and show you. So everything I've been doing at the moment is using the sort of the minor pentatonic. Which, to be honest with you, over and over and over can get a little bit boring. So one of the things I've been trying to do sort of more recently is interject a little bit of sort of like a major scale within that. So now a major scale is, you know, it's kind of a happy scale. So that's a sort of a happier scale rather than... And what you can do sometimes on that sort of, I tend to find that sort of using the major element of it on the root note sounds, I don't know, just seems to fit better than perhaps using the major bit on the second part of the blues progression. See what I'm saying? I like it over this chord. By the time I move to this chord, I kind of want to go. I've gone back to like a minor element to it, and I just kind of find it sort of works for me better than that. Everything about what I play, whether, you know, to be honest with you, is a little bit trial and error. Certainly historically has been trial and error, and it's just finding. There are certain riffs that you'll play over one chord of the progression that'll sound great, and then perhaps you'll play the same riff, the same lick over another part of the progression. It just won't sound kind of cool, and you really just got to try and find those yourselves. I think it's, again, another bit of advice. It's so important that you are listening to the music that you're playing, and really having a nice melodic kind of connection with it, than just sort of thinking, well, I'm, you know, just theoretically this should work, or I'm just reading it and I'm not really paying attention to it. So I like to feel it, and certainly again, I know when I'm doing the demos with chappers, where I lose myself the most is, again, it's a great tone, and I just play licks that somehow just really complement whatever the chord progression is that we're sort of playing over. So I don't know. I might just start that lick over, that riff over. Sorry, that loop over. We'll just wait for it to get back to the beginning. Maybe I'll have a little bit of distortion as well. We'll start with the major bit, I think. So you can see there, actually, I kind of lost it a little bit in the middle of that, but I started off the first time it went round. You heard the major bit, or you could play something like, and then as soon as it went to the D chord, I went back to the minor. So that a lot of the notes within the major and the minor scale are kind of, they may only be one semitone apart or something like that, but they give the solo a kind of quite a different feel, and I think breaking it up with that sort of major minor thing as you go through it just adds something a bit more interesting to it. What else can I sort of tell you? Some people want to know, just boring, let's show you on this camera here, or whichever camera here. I like to use a really stiff plectrum. I have a couple of plectrums on my lap here. One is an acrylic plectrum by Gravity that I really like. So this is a Razor 2, which I think means it's 2 millimeters thick, so no movement whatsoever here, but it gives me nice control, you know. The other one I've got is a stone plectrum, which I've been using the stone picks for a good couple of years now. Always find myself sort of migrating back to these. It feels a little bit different to hold. Very similar kind of control, so absolutely. But to me, feels a little different. Seems to sort of warm up somehow in your hands and kind of feel a bit more safe. And it sounds a tiny bit different, but probably not different enough over a YouTube video for you to really get any kind of a vibe about that. I like to do super boring stuff just every so often, just to kind of sort of loosen up. I'll play, they're not even really, I suppose it's some sort of chromatic scale, but it's not even really properly chromatic. But anyway, you can hear even that, to be honest with you. I've been probably trying to do that for like 20 years or something like that, and it's still, I get sort of, I miss bits. But what I've realised, and I realised this about 6 months to a year ago, so relatively recently, that actually I've been concentrating far too much on what my left hand was doing, sort of thinking that's where all the important stuff is, and not really concentrating about what my right hand was doing. And so I was quite sort of sloppy, and so I sort of thought, well, I've always alternate picked, so I've always, I don't know if you know what alternate picking is, but it's where instead of everything being a downstroke, it's an alternate, you know, down up. So I've always kind of picked like that, and I've always kind of, I don't know, felt that I've had reasonably economic sort of movement of the hand. You know, I'm not kind of like strumming away like this or anything. I'm quite a sort of a, I don't even know what you call that, minimal amount of movements. But actually, the bit that makes my brain, or I have to concentrate hard to do when I'm doing is the right hand. And ideally what you should really do that to is a metronome, and you should literally go all the way up here and all the way back down again, and it's unbelievably boring, but and I don't do it religiously every day or anything like that. I just do it, you know, just to try and sort of, I guess, keeps the sort of fingers relatively fluid. I mean, the guy that showed me that years ago when I was in the store said what I should really try and do next is do, which is alternates, so I'm going first, third, fourth, first, second, fourth, and then mixing it all up. But to be completely honest with you, I have such a short attention span for doing anything that's boring. I've struggled to ever really sort of keep that up. So I tend to do that for like as much as my attention span will allow me, which is usually about 2 minutes, and then I just want to play guitar normally again. So what else can I tell you? Perhaps I should have done this on Periscope, and then you could have kind of asked questions. But post questions below if you either go, Lee, this is so unbelievably boring, please never do this again. Or go, no, this was quite interesting, but I wish you'd talked more about that, and then I guess I kind of can. What else is nice? Who else has inspired me? I don't really have any one particular player that was like, you know, he's the guy that inspired me to do everything. I'm certainly massive fan of John Mayer, big fan of Eric Clapton. I think a lot of the field players, you know, someone like Paul Kossoff, if you've not heard any of his stuff from Free, you know, he is one of the masters of kind of less is more. And then all the other guitar hero classics, you know, Hendrix and Jimmy Page and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and, you know, I love all of them, you know, they're all great, but I wouldn't necessarily say that any one of them has particularly influenced me in any one direction. One Direction, they haven't influenced me. So look, there we go. Kind of, I must admit, before I started shooting this video, I thought this would be really easy. I'll just spend 15 minutes telling them everything I know about playing guitar, and then they'll all know, and then everything's done and dusted from there. And I've kind of realised it's actually a lot harder to sort of tell people. So respect to all the guitar tutors out there, because it's much harder to teach someone than you would think. So how are we going to sort of end this? Let's, well, that's it, I guess. You know, I'm going to kind of... How are we going to end this then? I think that's probably as much as I kind of want to feel like it's good to do now. Otherwise this video, I think it's probably video's going to be more than 20-25 minutes long as it is. So let's just kind of have a real mini kind of recap, and then we'll end on a little bit of a jam. And if you want to sort of tune your guitar up to sort of concert tuning or whatever, there's my E. Perhaps we can have a little bit of a jam together, all of us. So vibrato, practice vibrato. Practice dynamics. So, you know, let's get some light and shade in there. You'll be amazed how different your amp sounds and your guitar sounds when you know, go from... Maybe you want to use your fingers, you know. Practice again, get a little bit of gain on your amplifier, but you know, try and practice, know how soft you can pick to get the guitar amp to be clean. And see how you get on with those micro bends. As I said, I sort of subconsciously do that, so I'm not sure how easy that is to just learn, but I quite like that sort of... You hear that? So see how you get on with that kind of thing, and just, you know, so I'm not trying to get you to play fast or complicated scales or anything like that. Very much staying within some pretty basic kind of scale patterns. So just see how you get on with that, and you know, as I said, comment away. Let me know how you're getting on and stuff like that. And if you want to do some more of this kind of stuff, give me some direction, and I'll see if I can help. So let's see if we can just get that loop going again, and then we'll just play over. Your turn. There we are, look, that's the end. Kind of don't know if that really mapped out in my mind exactly how I hoped it might do. I kind of feel, as I said, yeah, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But look, I'm not a tutor, so there's been no charge for this lesson. If you've never heard me play before or anything like that and thought, yeah, I quite like what he does, then you can go and find more videos on the Rob Chapper's channel that I'm in quite a few of, and some on the Anderton's channel that I'm in. I'll put some links in the description below. But yes, I suspect that if you found this video, it's probably because you've followed it from something that I've plugged on Facebook or whatever. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And, you know, it would be cool to do another one. But yeah, I need some direction from you guys. You know, what do you want to learn next? And we'll see what we can do. But that's it. For the time being, Captain out. See you next time.